Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking something really unique. It's not an article, not a book, but a complete 15-week self-study
A
syllabus.
full curriculum.
Exactly. It's called The Living Jewel, and it's all about one creature, Betta Splendens, the Siamese fighting fish.
And that framing is so important. This isn't just a guide on how to care for a fish. It positions the betta as well, as a biological and cultural icon.
Right.
So our mission today is to kind of use the syllabus's own structure, its focus on origins, evolution, and ethics, to pull out the biggest insights for you.
We're going to show you how studying this one tiny animal is really a deep dive into us, into human history, vanity, and our drive to create. And what grabbed me immediately is the discipline it demands. This is an intensely analog study. You need a dedicated paper notebook, actual art supplies.
Watercolor, charcoal.
And here's the kicker. For some key assignments, you are forbidden from using a digital screen at all.
It's old school. It tells you this is for someone who really wants to disconnect and just synthesize, to slow down and actually think.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So we have to start where the syllabus does, which is with the betta's origins. To get why they're so resilient, you have to understand their home.
We're talking about the Mekong Basin.
Yep. Southeast Asia. Specifically, places like floodplains, irrigation canals, and of course, rice paddies.
So really shallow, often unstable water, low oxygen environments.
Critically low oxygen, which leads us straight to the biological marvel that defines them. This is the focus of week 6 in the syllabus.
The labyrinth organ.
The labyrinth organ. It's the whole reason they survive.
Explain what that is, because it's not something most fish have.
Not at all. Bettas are part of a group called anabantoids, or labyrinth fish. This organ is a sort of folded, maze-like structure just behind their gills that's full of blood vessels.
It's essentially a primitive lung.
Exactly. When the water gets too hot or stagnant and the oxygen drops, the betta just swims to the surface, gulps air, and that air passes over the organ.
And the oxygen goes straight into its bloodstream.
Right. It makes them incredibly tough. It's this perfect evolutionary tool that lets them thrive where other fish would just die.
And it's that resilience, that toughness that first caught our attention.
The syllabus tracks this cultural shift in Siam, what we now call Thailand, back in the 19th century. The fish was already known locally, of course.
As plakat.
Right, which means something like biting fish or fighting fish.
And this shift happens pretty fast. The curriculum, I think it's in week 3, really zooms in on King Rama III. He was completely fascinated by them.
He didn't just watch the fights, he formalized them. He actually established the first official licenses for fish fighting.
So he turned it into a taxed, regulated commodity.
That's the moment. That's the transition from a wild creature to a piece of cultural currency. It's a massive human intervention.
And the syllabus doesn't just state that, it makes you reflect on it. There's a prompt in there that asks, why do we as humans gravitate toward these fighting metaphors in nature?
It turns the lens right back on you.
It really does. It uses the fish's natural territorial instincts as a way to probe our own psychology.
And if we follow that thread, the journey to the West only cemented this idea of the fish as a specimen to be studied.
Right. The syllabus tracks its arrival in Europe sometime between 1840 and 1900. You have figures like Theodore Cantor,
the doctor who gave the West its first scientific description of the species.
And again, the course doesn't just give you a name, it makes you go to the source. It recommends reading Albert Gunther's 1861 catalog of the fishes in the British Museum.
Which is a dense, very dry 19th century text.
So why do that? Why make the learner struggle through it?
Because it forces you to understand the mindset of that time. The drive to categorize everything, to impose Latin names, to pin the creature down in taxonomy. The fish stops being a living thing and becomes an entry in a catalog.
The Western gaze, as they put it, controlling and defining.
And that really kicks off the whole era of selective breeding that comes next.
Okay, so once it's cataloged, we start meddling. The syllabus puts a huge focus on behavior, especially in week 7, on something called flaring.
The big display, where the betta spreads its gills and fins to look as large and intimidating as possible.
And this is where we can talk about their intelligence, right? Because that's not just mindless aggression.
Not at all. It's a highly sophisticated, ritualized behavior. It's a form of communication, a visual warning that often prevents an actual physical fight. It's smart, it saves energy, and avoids injury.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The syllabus asks you to compare that flaring display to human social posturing.
The way we use clothes or language or body language to assert status.
We're doing the same thing. The fish is performing, and we recognize it because it's a performance we understand.
And because we understood it, we became obsessed with exaggerating it. That leads directly to week 8, selective breeding.
The contrast is just visceral. You have the original play cat, which was short-finned, tough, built for a fight.
And then you get these elaborate flowing veil-tail and half-moon types, which are bred purely for how they look, for aesthetics.
We started painting with DNA. The syllabus even goes into the cellular science of it in week 9, talking about iridocytes,
Which are crucial for understanding that metallic shine you see. It's called structural color.
It's not just pigment, like paint.
No, iridocytes are cells with these tiny crystal plates inside. When light hits them, the layers reflect some colors and cancel others out. It's architecture at a microscopic level.
So that shimmer, the incredible blues and greens, that's literally the structure of the cells playing with light.
Exactly. And we took that natural structure and just pushed it to the absolute extreme. And post-World War II, the Betta's whole identity shifted.
It went from being this prized fighter to, as the syllabus says, a beauty queen.
Culminating in groups like the International Betta Congress, the IBC, which creates literal standards for fin length and color.
You can see that whole history just in the required reading. The course contrasts Hugh Smith's 1945 book on Thai fish, which is all about the honor and rules of the fighting culture,
with William Innes's early hobbyist book, which marketed the fish to the West with a new name.
He called it the living jewel. That name says everything about the shift in perception.
The reading list itself tells the whole story.
Okay, let's pivot to the method of the course itself, because the how is just as important as the what. It's designed for the curious autodidact.
But it demands this almost ascetic discipline. The analog mandate is no joke.
A physical notebook is required, no apps, and it even tells you how to structure it. The main body for notes, but you have to leave the left margin free.
They called it the insight column.
What's that for?
It's reserved for your stuff, your personal questions, your emotional reactions, definitions of old words you had to look up. It forces you to have a conversation with the material and with yourself.
That's incredible. It's active learning, not passive consumption.
And then there's the week 10 art assignment, a mixed media piece of a Betta.
And you have to use physical materials, ink wash, charcoal, pencil.
But the real constraint, the big one, is you cannot look at a screen while you do it. No phone, no computer.
So you can't just copy a photo. You have to draw from memory, from your understanding of its form and how it moves.
It's a test of synthesis, not just reproduction. And that all builds to the final assignments.
The biological sketch of the labyrinth organ is one, but the real monster is the final paper in week 14.
A 10-page, entirely handwritten synthesis paper.
Handwritten.
And the focus is on personal insight and flow, not just regurgitating clinical data. In a world of copy-paste, it demands real, physical, intellectual labor.
That brings up a huge question, one the syllabus wants you to ask. What does it say about us that we use this tiny creature as a focal point to train our own discipline?
The fish becomes a tool for sharpening our own minds.
And that focus eventually leads to a necessary and kind of uncomfortable ethical confrontation in week 12.
Modern ethics and the cup culture.
Yeah, that jarring sight in pet stores. These magnificent fish kept in tiny, cold, unfiltered plastic cups.
The syllabus forces you to contrast the historical ethics of fighting, which, for all its violence, was structured, and the fish were valued as warriors, with modern aesthetic ethics.
Where we might prize the look of the fish, but completely ignore its basic biological needs.
We ignore the very biology that makes it so resilient in the first place. We engineered these beautiful long fins, but those fins are a burden. They make the fish less healthy, less able to thrive.
It's an examination of our own failures as stewards of nature.
A really hard look at the limits of our stewardship.
So, wrapping this all up, what does it all mean? The journey of the Betta laid out in this course, it's really less about the fish itself.
Then more about us, about human vanity, aesthetics, and the discipline needed for real learning. The Betta is a mirror.
A mirror for our own history of creation and focus.
And the true insight the syllabus demands from you at the end is to recognize that dual legacy. The fish is famous for its wild biology, the labyrinth organ, and for the fragile, extravagant forms we forced onto it.
The resilient survivor and the delicate beauty queen all in one.
Right. And your final paper has to pick a core theme, like the Betta as a mirror of human vanity or resilience in shallow water. You have to synthesize it all.
That's a real talent.
And then the final act of the entire 15 weeks, the camera pulls all the way back to you, the learner.
What is it?
You're required to write a letter to my future self about what the journey taught you about your own curiosity, your discipline, and how you see the world. The beta was just the vehicle.
The destination was always your own internal growth.
Exact.
So that's the final provocative thought for all of you. What subject, what creature, what idea could you commit to with such intense analog focus that it would force you to write a letter to your future self? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.